Alright, welcome to another installment of Chewy's Magic Blog. Just close down all the non-Modo related things so we don't get a million Facebook notifications. Trying something here, so I've got the most middling affinity list that you could possibly imagine here. So basically trying to figure out what is good. Been playing Affinity for a while, on and off, for a long time, but not consistently for a long time. So my first ever Magic deck that I ever owned myself was the Arcbound Precon, and it was back in the day where I was playing against people that didn't really follow the rules, let's just say, and it was okay to have more than 4 copies of Counterspell if it had different art. So I was playing against 4 Demonic Tutors with 4 Tinkers, finding 4 Platinum Angels or Darksteel Colossus or whatever the most busted thing you could do at the time was. And that was the environment that I came into, started playing Magic. So I was a little bit put off, but my competitive streak kind of took over. One of those players happened to be my now brother-in-law, who I was dating his sister at the time, and I was super keen on just winning against him. So I took my Arcbound Precon deck, which I believe had 1 copy of Arcbound Ravager in it. It also had 1 copy of Skullclamp and 2, maybe 3 copies of Disciple of the Vault. So the deck was pretty gas for, a Precon. So I took it into my local store, Card Heaven, which was on Chapel Street at the time. It was, like the heyday of Magic in Melbourne here, where I'm from. Anyway, so I was like, so these are the decks I'm playing against, and this is my deck, what do I do? And then I was just crushing. It was pretty gas. So that's what made me love Magic, because I knew dudes were cheating, and I could play like a standard legal deck and win. So a lot of people have super negative memories of the sort of Affinity era, but it's what got me into it. It's what made me go, you know what, I can crush dudes who are not exactly doing the right thing. So anyway, in Modern, I really like Krark Clan Ironworks. It is a pet card from playing back in the day, but I've got, I don't want to say it, but I've got an affinity for Affinity. So this is my deck. It's probably Metalcraft. There's more Metalcraft cards than Affinity cards, but anyway, it's called Affinity. So I don't quite know what is good, and you'll have a look, and there's some very varying lists online. So what I've done is I've shot for the middle, and I'm going to try and figure it out from there. So starting with the mana base, it is a little bit different. So I am only running 2 copies of Blinkmoth Nexus, but because I have got the second basic, so Path to Exile, Ghost Quarters, etc., having the second basic's pretty good. It ups my number of coloured sources dramatically. So I think I've got 7, including Mox Opal. So even with a Stony Silence, you can still cast spells, which is nice. So it's a it may be correct, may not be. So got an island and a mountain. 2 Blink Moths, the full 4 Ink Moths. Just happens that foil Ink Moths were cheaper than non-foils online for whatever reason, but I'll take it. The 0 drop's pretty standard, 4 Thopter, 3 Memnite, 4 Mox Opal. Playing the full complement of 4 Galvanic Blasts. Rest of it's pretty standard until you get up to the 3 drop slot. And like I said, I don't know what is the best choice, so I've got a 2-2 split between Master of Ethereum and Etched Champion, with 1 of each in the board for the matchups where they're really good. So against creature based or fair decks, the Etched Champion's great. Against decks that you want to race against, or decks casting Thought-Knot Seer and Reality Smasher, casting Master of Ethereum's really good. So I guess this not being a clear choice right now kind of tells you that Modern's actually in a pretty good place. So maybe 2-2 is the right choice. I don't know. I'm going to play some matches and find out. Moving to the sideboard, 3 copies of Tormod's Crypt. I think there's better graveyard hate cards out there, but this costs 0. So you're so mana tight, and you have to be so mana efficient to curve out well with this deck that yeah, having a graveyard hate card that costs 0 is beneficial over something like Crypt or the Grafdigger's Cage, because you're bashing with hopefully giant things or cranial plating. The just the turn that Tormod's Crypt buys you, well, most often buys you, is often just enough. So also trying something out in the sideboard in 3 copies of Dispatch, who sometimes come in to supplement Galvanic Blast's removal, or sometimes just straight swap Galvanic Blast, which might mean that Dispatch is actually the right choice, and this mountain should then probably be a plains, I'm not sure, for the main deck, Dispatch, I mean. So just giant stuff like Eldrazi running around, the prominence of Eldrazi, Tron, etc. Just being able to Swords to Plowshares a creature with 0 drawback. So for those of you who've not seen a copy of Dispatch before, it's tap target creature, but if you've got Metalcraft, 3 or more artifacts, you exile it instead. So it gets rid of absolutely everything. It's pretty great. I'm thinking it's good against Eldrazi, and it's probably good against Death Shadows and Gurmag Anglers and Tassigers and stuff where Galvanic Blast doesn't shine so well. Galvanic Blast is good against everything else. It's the best way that you've got to deal with Planeswalkers, which lets you direct your creature damage at their face, and it's just a good finisher. Also in the sideboard, we've got Spell Pierce and Thoughtseize, which are very good against the Stony Silence shenanigans. Also, if I was to move Dispatch into the main board, I could play some sort of maybe Wear Tear and have a potentially a plains, a white source to destroy an enchantment, which might be good. I'm not sure, but yeah, Spell Pierce is, I guess I'm hedging a little bit here. Spell Pierce is good against, say, like an Ad Nauseam deck or a control deck, mid-range decks that want to play Planeswalkers. Thoughtseize is good against people that bring in Stony Silence. It's also good against control decks and Storm. So being able to hit their Baral to stop them having that turn 2 Baral's not too shabby at all. I've got a Whip Flare, so anything that's like basically any Ether Vial deck, Whip Flare is pretty good against. Black-White Tokens also in there, but if anything from the Black-White Eldrazi deck, or just the Black-White Flicker deck, or Merfolk, etc. Elves as well, could throw that in there. Whip Flare is pretty good against, but yeah, it might not be great, I'm not sure. Ancient Grudge for the mirror and things like Lantern Control, and yeah, potentially some other matchups if I'm looking for other things to bring in. Yeah, Ancient Grudge is just a good card. And then, yeah, finishing that off, there's finish off the sideboard. There is as I mentioned before, the 3rd copy of each of the Champion and Masters. So basically, this is a learning exercise. Played a couple of leagues. Only had 1 positive result, so definitely still learning. So let's